of Rand Paul actually celebrating kind of what he did. Eric, what's your take?
Here's my take, and we can get to the substance of the filibuster in a minute. It was really important. I think he kind of woke up the American people. But I think what you saw was a changing of the guard. You've heard this all day, but I really do think you see Ted Cruz, the senator from Texas, Marco Rubio from Florida, and Rand Paul from Kentucky. That's the new guard. The old guard, McCain, Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell. I got to say, guys, when you look at it, who do you, the Republicans, conservatives, who would you rather have going forward representing you? These new young bucks, I mean, they got it going on. And by the way, just for the record, Mr. McCain, after all this, came out and said he thought Rand Paul was wrong for doing what he did. And it's just scratching my head all day, like, why not embrace the young guys instead of, you know, this continued infighting?
It's kind of interesting how it's lined up with who's pro, who's con, as for this whole display of a democracy. So what do you think about it? Young guns, young bucks? Does this happen on Libertarian Island, Greg?
I'm still thinking about 12 hours without peeing. I got to say, that's one leak the White House was finally grateful for. He talked for so long, Hugh Hefner's wife finally came of age halfway through. Look, the big story here is that how Rand Paul, it's not about the old guard or the new guard, in my opinion. It's about turning President Obama into Dean Wormer. Dean Wormer is the bad guy in the Animal House franchise. It's only one movie, actually. But Obama generally was the Cape Crusader for justice, and he's now perceived as a petulant hypocrite. And that's what happened. And that, I think, was the real achievement here on Rand Paul. I mean, Rand Paul is an evil Tea Partier who's suddenly cooler than the coolest of the cool. And he was able to create a bigger idea here is how is the growth of government going to turn into an abuse of power? And that immediately links drones to Obamacare and to everything else in the Obama administration. It's good to see John Cusack and Code Pink joining the Tea Party for once, because that's what it was about. It was about limiting government. It wasn't just about drones. It was about every part of the Obama administration and the expansive growth that it desires.
Andrea, the impact on the Conservative Party, on Republicans in general.
I think this was a big moment for them. We've been told that we have this deep bench of emerging talent. We've been told that we have a party in peril. We're lost. Well, we found ourselves, and we got our mojo back, and we did it through this new guard that they're talking about. I think Greg is also right, though. I mean, we haven't seen a 30,000-foot message like this since the Tea Party emerged. And in a way, this is bigger than just deficit issues. They are arguing against big government, and the Constitution is on their side. I thought it was remarkable that they did it with such an outdated maneuver like the filibuster to get the young people engaged. But I think the timing was actually perfect, Kimberly, on this one. You see President Obama lost credibility. They're feeling good after they won the sequester battle, I think. So this is sort of the trifecta for them to hit, and now they got to keep it going forward.
So, Bob Beckel.
Yes.
Did the filibuster bring sexy back for the Republicans?
Well, it'd be tough to bring sexy back for Republicans. But, first of all, 2 weeks ago we were sitting here arguing about whether you should use drone strikes against Americans overseas. And if you remember, I said that you had to filibuster Brennan until they changed that policy. I think what you're hearing here, and I give Rand Paul a lot of credit for it, but what there is always and always has been an isolationist wing of the Republican Party that I think have been right. They're very reluctant to commit American forces overseas. The neocons have been the ones willing to go and commit troops overseas. I think you're seeing here the emergence once again, and I don't mean isolation in a bad way. I think it's a good reason.
Can I point something out? Mitch McConnell, listen, here's the problem with the Republican Party right now. Mitch McConnell, the other senator from Kentucky, didn't show up to the Senate floor until 11:17 p.m., which is 11 and a half hours into Rand Paul's filibuster. Where was he? Ted Cruz was there asking questions, helping out. Marco Rubio was there helping out. Barrasso was there helping out. Wouldn't you think the other the senior senator from the same state would show up and help his fellow senator out?
Team spirit?
He was at my place.
No, explain it.
Different kind of hold up.
There's a bigger story here, another story, which is about the media. The fact that if you're a liberal president, a popular president, you can do almost anything because the media generally shares your assumptions.
Right.
So it took somebody like Rand Paul, not the New York Times or the Washington Post, to light this issue up. The only reason why this is a big story is because the story was never told. We have a story about drones and about killing unarmed combatants in the United States, and that's not a big story for the media. It takes this to happen, and it exposes a lack of transparency and it makes the White House. I mean, the White House makes the Illuminati look precocious.
So listen, go ahead, Bobby.
I was going to say it's a very different, but really not that different issue here about using drones against American citizens, whether they're here or whether they're overseas. And our argument before was when they said that you could kill Americans with drones, even if it's not on American soil, right? Even if they weren't planning an attack. I think this is a bigger picture. I'm surprised Paul didn't bring that into the debate. But nonetheless, I think the whole issue of drones and Americans is something that's down the forefront.
The whole issue is getting Eric Holder and the president to agree that the use of drones for summarily killing Americans was wrong.
Yeah,
and it took them 12 hours
I would have liked
get
to
it
see
on
them
the
say it was
record.
wrong also to do it overseas.
Right, but what they also